Welcome back to Macro Monday, where I get you ready for the week ahead in 5 minutes or less. Just a reminder, as always, this is just a small snippet of our full Macro Monday newsletter. So if you're looking for more in-depth coverage of the week ahead, I will post a link to our full newsletter in the description below. Highly encourage you to go check it out. There's some really great stuff in there. So let's get to our chart of the week. First, to set this up, we're going to recap last week's FOMC meeting. As we predicted in the last video, it largely stuck to the script we were expecting. Interest rates were held steady, and Chairman Powell did his normal dance where he walked a fine line between being dovish and being hawkish. And currently that makes a bit of sense because on one hand, inflation is near the Fed's 2% target, but on the other hand, the labor market remains tight with unemployment at 4.2%. And that brings us to the week ahead. So here are the key economic data releases this week. This week brings a wave of important economic data releases, including potential early signals on where the labor market and inflation are headed. At the Macro Institute, we'll be closely watching Tuesday's Richmond Fed Index and Thursday's Kansas City Fed Index. Regional PMIs are always on our radar, but this month they take on added significance. Last week's Philly Fed Index showed a sharp deterioration in the employment outlook, which is notable, especially given how leading indicators of employment have recently been sending either weak or mixed signals. So given that, we'll be zeroing in on the employment components of the two upcoming regional PMIs to see whether the Philly reading was an outlier or if it was the start of a broader deterioration trend. Besides the regional PMIs, Tuesday, we'll get consumer confidence from the Conference Board, and Friday, we'll get the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index for the month of June. If tariffs are beginning to shift consumer psychology in any meaningful way, we'll likely start to see it emerge here. I would expect to see the impact of tariffs that we've had for the last couple months, even though a lot of them have been wound down. I think we'd start to see some effects of that more in the late summer, early fall. So it's still a bit early, but we'll be watching the consumer data just to wait to see if we see any cracks in confidence. And finally, last but not least, on Tuesday, we will be watching April's Case-Shiller Home Price Index for clues on shelter inflation, as that is a key driver of CPI data. And that's what I'm going to leave you here with this week. Subscribe to the channel if you learned something new, and subscribe to our full Macro Monday newsletter if you want more in-depth coverage. Again, link to that in the description of this video. I will see you here next Monday for the next edition of Macro Monday. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great week.